and some of the factors that played out during the voting process, and which, expectedly influenced the outcome of the election. Without further ado, you would realize that from the submission of a lot of election observer groups and stakeholders in the polity as well, there was a major case of vote buying in Ekiti. And as we prepare as a people for the 2023 general election, and especially as Osun State prepares for its gubernatorial election, which would hold on July 16, barring any last minute change, like they call it, ceteris paribus. That's what the date we have in the public domain. A lot of people are beginning to look at the consequences or the possible effect of some of these factors that played out in Ekiti State on the outcome of Osun election as well. And we will be looking at some of these factors, set them in the right perspective, and then we'll project into what Nigerians should expect and how the electorate should, prepare themselves ahead of the 2023 general election. The role of INEC as well, and the role of non-governmental organizations who largely observe these electoral processes. My name is Olabisi Olani Oluwasegun, and this morning I have with me in the studios Mr. Shola Agbola, doctor. Okay, for the purpose of this show, let's just stick with Mr. Shola Agbola. He is of the Social Democratic Party. Thank you for coming on the show this morning. Okay, I also have Mr. Johnson Alabi. Mr. Johnson Alabi is a member of the All Progressives Congress in Indo State. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, and we also would speak with Mashudi Isa, who is of Yaga Africa. Yaga Africa is a very popular election observer group in Nigeria. It's we're going to be listening to his perspective on the outcome of the election and some of these factors we earlier talked about. And of course, we would listen to the side of a former national exco, that's executive member of the People's Democratic Party. That's Mr. Diron Deyemi, is from Osun State. And Senator Ajibola Bashiru, who is also from Osun State, is the sitting Senate spokesperson of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He'll be speaking to us on some of these issues and what Osun State is doing to ensure victory, his party especially, to ensure victory on July 16. All right, welcome on the show. It is Public Square. Here we discuss topical issues from the standpoint of the people. We would also love you to join us on our Facebook Live. We'll be there right now. You could catch a glimpse of what we're doing here in the studios, and you drop your comments right there. We would read them all out. My name is Olabisi Olani Oluwasegun, and I welcome you once again. We'll go on a very short break. We'll be back for the discussion proper. I said earlier that today's discussion would focus majorly on the electoral process of Nigeria. Personally, I have my reservations, but for now, let's talk about the realities that we have on ground. Election in Ekiti State was held, largely adjudged peaceful. There was no bloodshed. There wasn't bloodletting, but ultimately, a lot of people believe that the process was compromised, largely compromised by vote buying and the rest. Before now, we used to have, the problem of electoral fraud in the guise of ballot boxes snatching, violence at polling units, and all of the rest. But for now, it seems Nigerians and the electorate have moved away from what the narrative used to be in the past now to a more dangerous trend, which is vote buying. First off, before we even start to, impute my own personal idea in this discussion, let me ask Mr. Shola Agbola, the outcome of Ekiti State's gubernatorial election, how would you assess it? And what do you think was the highlight of the process?
Thank you very much. As far as we are concerned, as far as I'm personally concerned, that election was free and fair.
When you say as far as SDP is concerned, are you in what capacity are you speaking now?
Generally speaking, Shola Gola is State Secretary of SDP, and at the same time, Chairman, Southwest SDP or some stakeholders, and it is on that strength that I had.
Before we even go ahead, there's this popular news in the public domain that your party has a leadership tussle. How far have you gone with that?
There is no deny that fact. The party has been factionalized. As a matter of fact, uh, recently, we condemned that our respectable and amiable father declared openly that SDP as a party now, nobody can validly lay claim to the chairmanship of that party. That whoever is laying claim to the chairmanship of that party is presently floating on. And we stand by that because the last acceptable and publicly acknowledged national convention of SDP took place way back 2016. Although there was a convention in 2018 where we picked a candidate, presidential candidates, primaries. But apart from that, there has been no national convention that any of
The reason
those.
I even asked that question is because you just paraded national publicity secretary in
It's
Indo
not a
State.
question of parading myself. I
Okay,
am the elected state secretary of Ondo State SDP.
okay.
And at the
So
same
it's
time, the chairman of the Southwest Concerned Stakeholders of the SDP.
all right. It's safe to say that you can for your party now.
Certainly,
Okay,
yes.
please go ahead.
Good. I have the mandate of my party to speak here.
Okay.
And when you invited me, I made some consultations, and I'm sure members of my party will be listening.
You just needed to clarify. That was the reason I digressed a little bit.
What I'm saying is SDP as a party, we know it's the third force. But unfortunately, the party has been personalized. We have two major factions now. The authentic and the elected SDP neck, and the kangaroo one that is unfortunately granted erroneous recognition by INEC. And I make bold to say here that INEC to us appears somehow compromised. We will get to that.
Okay, let's leave that for now. Probably we would look for another day to talk about SDP as a whole. But for now, let's dwell more on the outcome of the gubernatorial election in Ekiti State. How would you adjudge it?
I was there. I was there throughout, before, during, and after. I came back just yesterday, and the truth of the matter is, by our own assessment, that election was free and fair. There's no denying the fact. What do you want to talk?
Even though your party lost out in the election,
Well,
your candidates.
the party lost out. It wasn't a surprise to those of us who actually anticipated that loss. Though all parties, we have to be sincere here. All parties we want to win. But even our loss, I must give it to them, happens to be an improvement on our previous performances. The loss is not abnormal, because when the APC candidate who came first scored 187,000 votes plus, and the SDP, our party, was able to make 82,000 votes plus. And the PDP, that people thought would even spring a surprise, scored maybe 60,000 votes plus or something like that. Now, when you look at that margin, it is natural that people will complain. Immediately they lose election, they will complain. They will say, we are heading for the tribunal. I don't deceive myself. We fielded a candidate who felt he could win, but insiders knew he would not win. That's one. Then two, he will not win on the basis of defective presentation. I'm able to say that. Those who presented him in an awkward manner, because those people were never legitimate NEC members of the SDP. Let me put it straight like this: where you have somebody who lays claim to the chairmanship of a party via position swapping. What will you call that? Have you ever heard that? in the annals of history or politics here that a self-confessed national secretary will swap position with the so-called national chairman whose legitimacy of office is still being challenged with the series of cases pending in court. So we do not have the group that presented the Ekiti candidate were not the new SDP. Let me remind the House, way back 2019, our own factional national chairman, Chief Shubosho Nibare, went to court plus other elected members as the plaintiffs. And SDP was the major plaintiff in that suit. That was suit FHC slash Abuja slash civil
all this,
service
all this,
slash
all this
1358
you're ruling
slash
out, Mr. Agbola,
2019.
all this
Yes,
you're ruling out are
yes.
the internal issues in your party.
They,
How did that affect the outcome of the election?
this is what exactly I'm saying. The truth of the matter is, even if SDP candidate in Ekiti had won that election, a litigation is pending that will knock it off
Okay.
because it was a product of Kangaroo National Executive Council.
Okay,
That is the truth.
that will be fine for now. Mr. Johnson Alavi, what's your own take on the whole issue?
Well, the election of Ekiti has come and gone, but one cannot go too far from the fact that the election was an improvement over previous elections in Nigeria.
In what regard?
In we are talking with regards to the conduct of the election itself by the INEC
Okay.
and the conduct of the people that voted, that is the electorate,
Mm.
even though we feel that the turnout in that election was low compared to the registration they have in Ekiti. The registration of Ekiti is about 957,000, and the total election, we put it together, just about 400,000 votes. So, meaning that about 500,000 plus did not come out to vote, either due to fears of the insecurity fears in town, or probably because some people feel, well, they will do whatever they want to do, even though we vote. So, because of that, the turnout was low. But in the conduct of the election, it was a clear divergence from what it used to be with INEC in those days where they would have to do inconclusive elections. And the result of the election and the coalition was done in a timely manner, unlike the previous one that by the following day they will still tell us they are counting, they
All
are still
thanks to
sorting.
the new electoral act.
Yes, so the new electoral act has really done much in the I mean with the current election, and so we are still hoping that INEC will improve on those things as we move towards the general election. The next election is going to be the Ekiti election. I mean the
Oh, sure.
Osun election. We expect improvement in the the conduct of the election in Osun. However, just like my brother was saying here, probably the party had internal issues and you didn't expect to win. You know, winning in an election does not happen in one day. People prepare for it.
Mm.
We observe that even when our the candidate of our party for the presidential election was in Ekiti some days before the election to give a supporting wave to our candidate in Ekiti, and that has really, I mean, that really helped.
Boost the morale of.
Yeah,
Mm.
and that was one of those things that we in the APC enjoyed in that election. And that was
Okay.
why we won with the wide margin that was recorded.
Okay, we are talking about this election, the outcome of the gubernatorial election in Ekiti State, because of that which is to hold in Ocean State on July 16th. A lot of people believe that, especially people who are just bystanders, who are not really partisan and are not politicians, believe that Ekiti election, the outcome has set a kind of precedence for what is likely to happen in Ocean State. And then the question of how prepared are the two major folds? For now, the APC and the PDP are the major political parties. The SDP, like you put it, is just a thought first, and we're not even sure of the preparedness of the SDP for electoral victory, given the back and forth within your party. But first, before we come to, I said the other time that SDP issue is the whole issue that we would have to set a date for, but not for today. We have. A former executive of the PDP, that in person of Mr. Jiron Deyemi, and Senator Ajib Bola Bashiru, who is also Senate spokesperson. They have this to say on whether or not the outcome of Ekiti gubernatorial election would affect that of Osun State. We'll listen to that and we'll back to continue.
Whatever votes is counted for Engineer Shegun normally should go to PDP. For the mere fact that he contested under another political party is immaterial. The PDP defeated PDP in that election. And it is quite unfortunate that Nigerian politicians don't imbibe the spirit of sportsmanship. Because if you lose an election at the primary level, one would have expected Engineer Oni to cooperate with the winner, Mr. BC Kolawole, and supporting him in such a way that PDP will have won that election. But here is Engineer Oni, who defected, and of course this is his characteristics, and it's quite unfortunate that our electoral law does not give room or give room to people defecting from one political party to another and overnight becoming the candidate. So in a way, we lost to the internal conspiracy. And if you look at it this way, you may not know this, but I want to tell you this, that you may think or you may say that Engineer Oni came second. He came second because he had the support of PDP governors. He had the support of PDP leaders, because many of them believe that, he is the candidate and he is their candidate, and they supported him where he went to contest, leaving our candidate alone. And the evidence of that is that throughout the campaign, none of the national officer, the presidential candidate, Abubakar Atiku, the chairman of the party, Senator Iyosha Ayu, none of them came to Ekiti to campaign for PDP candidate, which is very absurd, which was part of the reason why we had that credibility problem. And as a result, the party members were not enthusiastic enough. They were not encouraged. So if we say PDP lost that election, we lost to PDP internal crisis. If we are talking of loyalty to the party, former governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, is just an individual. Do we now say because you lost an election at primary election is a process? You will agree with me. It was because Mr. Peter Obi could not withstand the process in PDP, and he knew quite well that he was not going to win the presidential election. That was why he left. Engineer Oni stood back simply because he thought he could win the primary election. And the moment he lost that primary election, it was agreed and he left the party. And a good and loyal party people, irrespective of whatever is the crisis, will stay by the party. After all, it wasn't the name of engineer of Bisi Kolawole or Peter Ayodele Fayose. It was on the ballot paper. It was PDP.
But when you look at the hard figures, our candidate, the APC, won with 53% of the votes. It means that the total votes to all other contesting political parties, including the PDP, SDP, NNPP, Labour Party, and all other parties, are just a paltry 47%. In a plurality democratic system that we practice, simple majority will be 50.1%. So if our party had won with 53%, then it is not a case of PDP losing to PDP. It's a case of total loss of PDP because of the fact that the PDP, and I say this emphatically, is an asphyxiating and dying party in the southwest part of Nigeria. And the recent huge loss in the electoral processes, not only in 2018 in Ekiti and Osun State, but in 2019 in the general election, speak to the fact that as far as southwest Nigeria is concerned, PDP is a fast, dying party and will be ultimately buried on July 16, 2022 in the state of Osun. And as to his contention that he has said that it was because of infighting within their party, assuming without conceding that even Segun Oni team up with Bisi Kolawole, it will mean that both of them will get less than 40% of the total forecast. It will be a kind of symbiotic failure of the two coalition.
Okay, you just heard the voices of a former national PDP ESCO member, Jiro Deyemi, and Senator Ajibola Bashiru. The last part where Senator Ajibola Bashiru likened what could have happened even if there was a merger between the SDP and the PDP. He called it symbiotic failure.
Yes.
Well, I have a member of the PDP from Osun State right here with me, Honorable Adele Bamiji. He's a spokesperson for the PDP Gilbert candidates in the state. Thank you for joining us on the program this morning, Mr. Bamiji.
Yes. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's popularly called HOB. So, going forward, you had the take of Mr. Ajibola Bashiru, who thinks that your party doesn't have any chance in the coming election on July 16. How would you react to that?
Yeah, that is far from the truth, as hallucination, kind of. He knows quite well that as far as Osun State is concerned today, APC does not. let me put it back to him that APC as a party does not stand any chance from all ramifications as we speak of winning elections in any election, not to talk of gubernatorial election in Osun State, unless, because vote buying they are relying upon and thuggery will not even do, unless perhaps they want to annihilate, they want to wipe everybody off in Osun State. If it is by voting, my sister, from whatever angle, APC has destroyed Osun State beyond comfort, beyond the elastic limit of any human being. And so it is difficult. Yoruba will say, that is where we are in Osun State today. That is where we are. So it is difficult. These people, they have destroyed everything you want to, every indices you want to measure humanity with in Osun State. And our people, as we speak, if you have been monitoring our campaigns here and there, you will know that APC today is nowhere to be found.
Okay.
As far as people is concerned.
Okay, you have highlighted some of the reasons you believe that APC would not stand any chance in the coming election, but you would agree with me that politics and elections is a game of numbers. Whatever you believe might not really count if your opposition or the opposition party is able to, muzzle enough numbers and come out victorious in the election. Now, some of the issues that have been set on the table is the fact that your candidate, Prince Adeleke, is a bad market now. In parentheses, I don't know what that means. Is it true that your candidate is bad market? How so?
that is ridiculous, laughable. You say you hear me laughing here. It is ridiculous, laughable. What they call bad market when he contested against their party, the APC, in 2017, not too long ago, in year 2017, as Senator of the Federal Republic, he defeated APC 9 local governments to 1. The APC only managed to win just 1 local government.
The much we know about the last election is that it was first declared inconclusive, and upon return, APC was declared winner.
That is what I'm saying. I was coming to that. If so, would a bad market defeat an incumbent government at the first ballot, before the abracadabra of inconclusive election, inconclusiveness in our election in Nigeria became astoundingly pronounced here in Osun State. That was an election in which the returning officer, Professor Fuapel of Futa there, was sitting there astonished. You could see it physically on that man that day, that he has been boxed to a corner. He has been coerced to do something perhaps against his conscience. That is where he declared inconclusiveness of that election. So if a bad market could defeat an incumbent candidate in a senatorial election, 9 local governments to 1 in a senatorial election, then such market, I would rather go there to buy something. If a bad market could defeat candidates of an incumbent government before they came up with abracadabra, and you should remember, it was all over the world when our dear president, Muhammadu Buhari, came to Osun State and said openly that they have lost Osun State already. They almost lost Osun State before they came up with remote control. He said it. You can Google this, and it's still in the news up to today, that they have to do everything with the use of remote control, whatever that means, from Maso Rock to have their way. Is that what SRG, or what we call him here, is calling a bad market? They know Senator Ademola Adeleke is their problem. They know his capacity. They know the popularity of this man. They know the pedigree of that family, where that man is coming from. This also said it's a core Yoruba land.
Okay.
We know ourselves.
Before we go ahead, the outcome of Ekiti gubernatorial election has been adjudged peaceful, regardless of whatever anyone thinks, regardless of what, even though the EFCC has arrested a few persons who were alleged of buying and selling votes at the election. What exactly is this sending? What signal is the outcome of that election sending to Osun PDP? Has it unsettled you in any way? Is it going to make any difference?
Sure, no two cultures are the same anywhere in the world. It is different from Osun. I don't want to speak too much about the election of Ekiti State, because I know, as I sit here, I know so much that was not the true strength of our party in Ekiti State. So whatever might have transpired, I want to leave that to our leaders and stakeholders of our party in Ekiti State, and I know they will have to have a kind of conduct a kind of post-election review of what must have transpired for that outing. But I can tell you vividly that was not the true strength of PDP in Ekiti State. But I would rather bother myself about what happened there in Osun State. And historically, if you have been following it, in 2014, when Ekiti, similar election was conducted in Ekiti, APC won, and PDP lost in Osun State. But in 2018, we won here before the miracle of the presidential or apple of remote control setting. We won here, so it has never been. We have never voted in the same way. We have never followed the same pattern in
The,
terms
the
of.
reason I asked you, the reason I asked that question, Mr. Bamiji, is because there have been allegations and counter allegations that some people spent higher than the others. It was the game of the highest bidder in that election. That's what we were made to understand, given the videos and some of the reports that we have from election observer groups. Is your party ready to spend as high as
My sister, we don't have to
the
spend
ruling
it.
party? Because there's a video also, there's a viral video also where we have your candidate, Senator Adeleke, saying that he's ready this time to go head to head with APC. If they bring pound, he's going to bring pound. If they bring euros, it would also bring euros. What's the situation?
Senator Adeleke was just reacting to.
Oh, you've seen the video too?
Yes, well, he was just reacting to questions or fears expressed by followers of our party at a campaign. We were here when the APC leader, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, came to a palace, the Akaja of Osogbo palace in particular, that where he was saying openly that the present governor and himself, they were Richard and the whole of Osun State, and that they just wanted to help us. But up to today, we have not seen.
But Asiwaju Bola Tinubu is not contesting in that election, if you ask me.
Asiwaju Tinubu is an uncle, as we know here. Is an uncle to the present governor. They are from the same origin as far as history is concerned. So he came then to campaign for the same man, and that was his statement. It is. You can see internet doesn't lie. It is still there if you want to see it. So it is normal. It is normal as leader of men, as a leader of a team and the PDP. A leader of that caliber would not have to appear like a coward, before your own people, especially in an election of this nature. That don't let them intimidate you. I have this money that I will use for you when I'm voted in. That it doesn't even have to say that. We know that family is blessed already. Senator Adeleke does not even have to tell us. People know already.
Okay.
People know. We know their pedigree. We know their history in our state. That is a well blessed family. Nobody doesn't even have to brag about it. It wasn't bragging. It was an assurance that nobody can come from Lagos to intimidate us here with money, with pounds, with dollars. So he has to assure his followers too. That's what happened.
The question is pointed now. Is your party ready to go head to head, regardless of what is being brought to the table, to ensure victory at the polls?
Footer for footer. Okay. We are ready to go head to head with them. They know today APC is the
most party. I'm afraid we have to go now. It's all eyes on Osun State until the end of the electoral process in Osun. We would continue to speak to some of these issues. So probably some other time we'll have to bring you back on the show. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. Okay, that's the voice of Mr. Oladele Bamiji, the spokesperson for Senator Adeleke's campaign council. Some of these issues that he has said, the last part is what a lot of Nigerians have been talking about. The influence of money, inducement of voters. It's getting really bad by the day. Is there a way out, Mr. Alabi?
Well, I think what people call vote buy is probably people talk about vote buy during a primary election. Maybe, yes. But during general election, it is expected that parties mobilize people to the venues of
at the point of voting
of election, not really at the point of voting. It is against the law for people to share money at the point of voting.
It's even criminal.
But it is expected that these people, the electorate, should be mobilized to the venues of election. And so such funds probably could have been distributed to them before the day of the election, maybe a day or two before, so that there's people who want to go on bike, people who want to take taxi, at least can go around and be able to vote. But I watched the SDP candidate in Ekiti as he was talking on the TV that morning, accusing people of vote buying and all this. But at the end of the day, there is no political party. Let's be very sincere. There is no political party that will not bring out money for mobilization on the days of election. So when I see people accusing one party, accusing the PDP,
When I hear people justify vote buying, giving it, coloring it with different names, mobilization, party, whatever, it is the constitutional duty of every Nigerian to vote.
Yes.
So where does mobilization come in here?
Now, where mobilization comes in is that fingers, they say, are not equal. And if fingers are not equal, there are people who okay, for instance now, I live in Ijapo and my voting point is in Ondo Road because I lived in Ondo Road before and I've not been able to move my card. And it is expected that I'll vote on that day. There are some people who may not even be able to afford the 100, 200 naira to and 200 naira from that place. So it is expected that people who want to get vote from them will pay for their taxes, pay for their okada or whatever means of transportation down to that venue. So there is no coloration or anything in it. It is expected of any political party to do. The only thing that we have seen from place to place, from time to time, is that people, okay, like SDP in the last election was giving people 6,000 naira for mobilization, and PDP was giving 6,000. We saw all that was happening. So when people accuse, in fact, APC didn't do that, and at the end of the day, we came out with something. Just like that, the spokesperson that spoke before. If you add the vote of SDP, if you add it to that of
before you go ahead, because I really do not want us to misinform the public here. I have Barrister Tolu Babaleye right now. Good morning, Barrister Babaleye. I'm sorry this is an impromptu call, but I had to do this. Good morning.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning.
Good morning, Adaba.
Okay, so we're having a very controversial discussion in the studio regarding vote buying. It's no more news. It's public knowledge that now that all political parties dole out money on the day of election to their voters. I don't want us to trade blames here, but do you think this is constitutionally right? Some people call it mobilization of party members. Is this justifiable?
Honestly, this is very unfortunate. It is a very sad thing and a new lexicon in our election in Nigeria. Our government, the party in power, have to do something about it. Because if they really want to discourage this thing, it should start from the party in power. As long as the party in power is, patronizing voters by giving them money before they vote, you cannot stop other party from doing it. Let us show, the will and the zeal to develop this democracy. Let there be genuine emergence of leaders. All this one we are seeing, they are not genuine, just artificial emergence of leaders because you end up buying your leader. When you buy somebody, what do you expect from that person? You will not have the temerity, you will not have the courage to go to the person that I voted for you, I vote for you. He will tell you, come on, keep quiet. I bought your vote. It is very sad when I saw those young ladies, perhaps voting for the first time in Ekiti, displaying with reckless abandon a practice sum of 5,000 with their voters card on social media. In fact, I wept for the future of this country if this trend should go on. If there's not anything the government can do, because I'm not going to call on the political parties now, I will call on the government in power. May God give us a president that will put his feet on and say nobody, no matter how highly placed, to give everybody 1 naira. If I want to lose this election, let me lose it fair and square. On that day will be the joy, will be the best day for the democracy of Nigeria. And from then, democracy can go on. Our EFCC, where I saw some clips in Ekiti. It's like stigmatic clips. How many people? And unfortunately, they are chasing opposition party members. It's unfortunate. Why the people in government are doing the same thing at a very larger scale, and you are not chasing opposition to create an impression that you are chasing people who are distributing money. It's very unfortunate, and it's a big decimal on the democracy that we practice in Nigeria. Even though you call me impromptu, this is my opinion.
Okay. What's legally speaking now, what does the law say about giving out money to voters at the point of casting their ballot? What does the law say about that?
Well, that's what I can call undue influence of the voters. When you use money to induce voters, it is illegal. It is anti-democratic. In fact, there are a lot of laws. The laws are about in our criminal code, in the EFCC Act, that you cannot do that. You cannot do that. You cannot pay bribe. You cannot collect bribe. It's as if you are paying a bribe for somebody to do something for you. That is very unfortunate. We should be serious in this country. By now, people should be behind bars for this. And when I say people, I'm not talking of the ordinary people that collected the 5,000. The people that had the money and gave to them. The people that had the millions. Our security agents cannot pretend not to know them. It's very unfortunate that we find ourselves in this kind of situation.
All right. Thank you very much, Barrister Tolu Babale. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And I meet my friends in the studio. People that have not followed the program.
Thank you. We appreciate
I just left the court now.
Okay, that's his view. I have to do that because I have heard this narrative before, even among the elites. They think that giving out money to party members at the point of voting is just a way of appreciating them or mobilizing them for the election.
I told you, sharing money at the venue of the election is ill. It is anti-democratic. It is against the Electoral Act itself. But it is expected most often that electorates are motivated to go out on election day to vote. Mind you,
the state of the nation's affairs should be enough motivation for any Nigerian to go out to vote.
Yes. Just like an adage would say,
okay. Let me take the view of Mr. Shola Agbola on this issue.
Yeah, on the issue of vote buying, the truth of the matter, as I said, it is true. It's very bad. And no party can declare that it's innocent.
No party.
All parties are guilty.
Even the budding political parties?
Of course, yes.
Even
within
the
third force too, which is the third force, which is the fourth force. The truth of the matter is, vote buying can be colored in different manner. My brother here will call it mobilization or whatever. Vote buying is different from mobilization. It's very clear that even when you want to go for your national convention, right from your national, money will be sent down to the states. State will send money to local government, at least to cushion the effect of cost of transportation and other things on the part of the delegates. That is mobilization. Parties are,
and that will be done before
it will be done. But do you know why this type of thing now extends to the particular day of convention? Is because of the attitude of most Nigerian voters. When they collect money well ahead of what they should do, you won't find them at the convention. If you are to go to Abuja and you are given 40,000 naira mobilization, you are given that money for 4 days to the time you should depart. They will stay back at home. They will say, after all, I have collected. What am I going there to do? That's why you find parties saying that come to the national convention. When you get there, when we see you, that is national convention. But when it comes to election proper, don't forget whether you call it mobilization or not. I will not mention it, but a particular governor at a particular time from this Ondo state introduced this program.
Okay, let's
And
take
the thing, let me land.
Okay,
Let me land.
okay.
And the thing went just like that. In the Ekiti something, you heard that a certain party was giving out 10,000. The one that lost gave out 7,000. All those things, they are all guilty. But what I am concerned with is how to put an end to this dangerous trend. Because when you continue to buy votes, you cannot get the best to govern us. Those who enter into office via vote buying will first of all want to recoup times 1,000 of what they have spent.
What they invested.
Yes, that's what, and they will not even care. Especially those who are using their second time. They know they are not coming back the third time. They will make so much money. They can even make members of their family, their accountant of the city, all the rest of them. They can do that. But how do we get out of this? One, it's very important. The ruling party must be taken into confidence that they will be able to lead it from that far. Then two, the anti-graft agencies, the FCC and all the rest of them, those who are monitoring the election, let them make those who are. I don't agree with you that they should be looking for the money by distributing money. If you carry your Ghana must go on your head and you want to distribute and you don't have, nobody can come out to collect from you. You carry it back and you'll be apprehended. But those voters who will take 5,000 and be showing it off behind the camera that this is the money I have made. If EFCC catches 1, 2, 3 people, let them be made real scapegoats. Let us create fear in the minds of those who are collecting money. Let us tell them that Diboko Sebe will not help. And how do you do that? If you preach from now till
okay, because of our time, let me quickly take
get them arrested, punish them severely. Nobody will want to collect money again.
That's right. Let's take a few comments from our Facebook Live. Olumide Ogundawale says the candidate SDP paraded in the Ekiti election said he saw discrepancies, but here is the so-called publicity. I don't know what he meant by so-called publicity secretary, saying it was free and fair. Indeed, the house of SDP is leaking. That's according to him. Honorable Nifemi Richie says, good morning, Olabisi. Good morning to you too. My question to the spokesman of SDP in the studio is that who is the state chairman of SDP in Ondo State? That will not be answered now. I told you.
Because I
know that will lead to a longer story.
We are both together. No story. We have one and only one executive council of SDP. Even Dele Ogunbameru, who used to be there, resigned, and he was the one who even organized the state congress.
Okay, Omagena Dennis Orido says evidences are loadedly abound to concretize the fact that APC has no place on ground any longer, not only in Oshu but across the length and breadth of Nigeria. It's obvious APC in its usual style. This is quite a long read, Morido, but we'll try to take a few lines from your comments. In its usual style, only rely on intellection rigging machines and results manipulative instruments because the party has fallen short of people's confidence and trust. Okay, thank you very much. Olumide Ogundawale, Mr. Johnson is tactically, this is for you, Mr. Alabi, is tactically in support of vote buying. Politicians are killing the system. Are you in support of vote buying?
Well, I'm not in support of vote buying. But I want to tell us that, just like I mentioned before, that because fingers are not equal, there are people who cannot afford to spend 400 naira from Ijaku to come.
And I think that should not be done at the point of voting. Temitope Amo says Barrister Tolu Babaleye has spoken well. It is now left for the APC to do the needful and disallow vote buying in the coming elections. Kudos to the barrister for saying the truth concerning vote buying. Yes. Okay. So you can still go ahead and drop your comments if you have any. Hopefully we'll take them.
I'm not in support of vote buying at all. Just like we have mentioned, it's a criminal offense. It is criminal to do vote buying. Do you know that, just like my brother mentioned, people take money to the venues of convention. The people who take chunks of dollars from convention are the same people who come back and say, and come to the electorate and say, no vote buying, because they are taking 2,000, they are taking 3,000.
Okay, let's hear from our listeners. A few calls, just one or two calls, before we wrap it up. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you for calling. What's your name?
My name is Bayo from Ileluji.
Please go ahead quickly.
I sincerely appreciate you with the program you brought today. I want to simply say concerning the people that are buying votes, this is illegal and it is not good enough for this our country. My advice is that all those politicians that are distributing money, they should be arrested. There are some things in which they do call when students shit in the school, they will have to punish them. They will see their examination, their results. Now, all those politicians, let them be fined. All those that are buying votes, selling votes, let them be punished for it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your contribution. I have Mr. Moshood Isa of Yega Africa live now. Good morning, Mr. Moshood.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing? So we've been discussing some of the factors that play out during voting, during the electoral process. And you know that we are in the season of elections in Nigeria. How is Yega Africa putting paid to some of the, or trying to curb some of these factors, especially the issue of vote buying during voting, during elections?
Okay, so to be specific to issue of vote buying during elections, I think the responsibility generally is for all the stakeholders, both civil society organization, the electoral commission, and especially security agency to play important role in curbing vote buying. Unfortunately, I think the politicians or the politicians have been devising strategic ways to circumvent laws around vote buying.
Are you aware? Are you aware of some of these strategic moves?
Yeah, because the law states that vote buying could only happen within some certain perimeters of the polling unit. But now the politicians could go outside those premises of polling units and still induce voters. For instance, in the Ekiti, we saw voters voting and then stepping out to a certain house close to the polling unit to get induced. In that situation, it might be a bit difficult to apprehend those perpetrators. We also saw law enforcement agents like the EFCC and ICPC at the polling unit, ensuring that voters cast their vote in secret and do not expose their ballot paper to probably the party agents that may have paid them. I've seen scenarios where these party agents stay within some certain premises outside the polling unit and still get to induce voters. Unfortunately, this happens. So one thing that we need to do first, apart from the consistent education of our people, of our citizens, we need to expand the scope of this electoral law to see that security agency can apprehend perpetrators. Last time we engaged the Nigerian police, the police in Ekiti State, they told us that only the electoral commission or only the ad hoc staff at the polling unit can call their attention to certain infractions before they can make arrests. So an electoral official that is probably busy with accreditation and other process might be it might be difficult for that person to track vote buying around that polling unit. So again, we have to expand the scope of responsibility of the security agencies to be able to capture this. But again, like we said,
before we go ahead, I'm sorry, we have to end the conversation here and now. But definitely, this is a running story. Elections will be held in Osun and again in 2023. So we'll continue to talk about, to speak to some of these issues, and we hope to have you again on the show some other time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that's the voice of Mr. Moshudi South Yaga Africa. He also gave credence to some of the things we've said here before, but hopefully we just hope that our people would listen, and if we truly are serious about having that Nigeria of our dreams, then vote buying is not the way to go. It is not the way to go. My name is Olabisi Olani Oluwasegun, and I want to thank my studio guests for coming on the program this morning. Mr. Shola Agbola, thank you for coming.
Thank you, and I'll surely come with it.
Okay, and Mr. Johnson Alabi, thanks for always.
Thank you.
Until next week, Thursday, when we'll be back, thank you very much for listening. Good morning.